my name is Sam Langford, and I'm really excited to be part of the Let's Improve Workplace Wellbeing strategy groups and thrilled to be chairing the implementation group alongside Anne-Marie. A little bit of a potted history about me for those that don't know me. I've been in the health and wellbeing space unofficially for about the last 10 years, but officially for the last 6 or 7, having completed the Masters in Workplace Health and Wellbeing in my previous role. I feel that all of my work and even my personal experiences have shaped me and led me to this point. I've experienced a lot of different types of bereavement, grief, loss, health issues, physical and mental, and I've been in a range of workplaces where I've seen things done well and not so well. Work-wise, I was in the police as a crime scene investigator for 10 years, and I've also done an awful lot of work for civil service, notably the Independent Office for Police Conduct. I was first in there in sort of learning and development, and then I became the first health and wellbeing advisor there. You'll see that I use a lot of my experience, both professional and personal life, to draw on with regards to workplace health and wellbeing, as I feel many of us do in this space. And you'll hear me talking a lot about bereavement in the workplace. But I also talk around potentially traumatic experiences and how to support staff through that, as well as all of the usual suspects that come to health and wellbeing, including everything that these strategy groups are going to help us talk about, sort of implementing strategies around health and wellbeing. And that's one of the big things that I've been involved in both of my last 2 roles, actually. In the Independent Office for Police Conduct, I was involved in creating the health and wellbeing strategy twice. I've firstly worked in collaboration with our diversity and equality lead, and then there was a new director of people appointed. They had a completely different focus and direction, so we overhauled it, we started again, and we did everything all over again. When I left the civil service, I joined Beborn Medical, where I created a brand new health and wellbeing strategy, literally starting from scratch. But it was much more holistic than anything they'd had previously. It brought together all of the things that they already had in place across the organisation, things that they weren't even aware dealt with health and wellbeing, and also brought together some ideas for moving forwards and a clear direction for doing so. And we were looking at protecting employees as well as education, awareness and support. We actually saw an increase in our employee engagement within the first 6 months of launching that strategy. And it really goes to show the importance of having a really good strategy in place. So what is the implementation group all about? I actually have a really strange analogy for talking about health and wellbeing strategy, so please stick with me on this one. If you think about all the different elements of health and wellbeing in an organisation as bits of debris following a shipwreck, stick with me. They're all bobbing about on the water. They're all over the place. So all those things, those ideas, the initiatives, the programmes, the policy guidance, anything that you've got, they're all out there and they're bobbing around on the water. And so are all the survivors from the shipwreck. They're also just bobbing around. And they might accidentally come across 1 or 2 of these bits of debris and find that actually it works well for them. But someone else might come along and there might not be room, or it might not resonate with them. It might not work for them. It might not be what they're looking for. And anyone who's seen Titanic will know how well that worked out for Jack and Rose. But if we can take all of those bits of debris that are bobbing around and bring them all together, tie them together, combining them, we can create a great big raft. And this is something which is much more suitable for far more people. But hopefully we're going to find that we're going to get nearly everybody on board of that raft. We're going to find something for everybody. And together we can reach land. We reach our aims. And this, for me at least, is what a health and wellbeing strategy is all about. We want to make sure that we're creating the foundation for everything that we do, the underpinning that's going to shape all aspects of health and wellbeing within an organisation. The strategy is what ties all of that together, keeps us in sight of our goals, keeps us progressing and keeps us moving forward. So whether or not you've already got ideas about what those few bits and pieces that are floating around might be, and you feel that you just need guidance on how to bring them together cohesively, or whether you're just at the start and you're still asking yourself, what does health and wellbeing even mean for our organisation? Then the implementation group is going to be for you. And Anne-Marie and I cannot wait to meet you all and to get started.
So I thought it would maybe be useful just to give you a bit of background, so you know how I came into the world of wellbeing. So my career has been predominantly in HR, and started off in sort of generalist roles and then moved into more specialised employee relations roles. And the last organisation I worked with was ACCA, who are the professional body for accountancy. And a lot of what I did was support line managers around employee relations issues. And what I was finding was managers coming and talking about people within their teams who were really suffering with their mental health. And they were absolutely terrified that they would say the wrong thing, really nervous about having those conversations with them. And round about that same time, I was also recognising where we had lots of people who were off long-term sick with stress, anxiety and depression. And all the organisation were doing was just reacting to these situations. They weren't doing anything that was proactive around how to put support in place for people before they got to that crisis point. So I went to the leadership team meeting and took them through a lot of my concerns, and they decided to start a project in wellbeing, and they asked me to lead on that project. And that sort of then took me into that space of looking at what do we already have in place, because we did have things there. And it's a bit like what Samantha was talking about, all that stuff bobbing around. So we did have things there, but we just didn't have it all in the one place. But we also had a lot of work to do as well. So I went back to them with my findings and my recommendations, and that then resulted in me being taken out of my role for a period of time to set up the wellbeing strategy. So basically I was given a blank canvas, which at one point it was great to get a blank canvas, but it was also pretty scary as well, thinking, what do I do here? Where do I start? And I suppose that's where some people are thinking at the moment. What do I do and where do I start? Around about that same time, I decided that I would also take another journey and train to be a counsellor. And that came around because of a suicide in the family, and also some other bereavements, and someone in the family who was really struggling with their mental health. And it made me want to get to know a lot more around that space. And now I'm a trained counsellor, and also I've got all the experience that I've had in the wellbeing space as well. But to sort of go back to wellbeing, so when I was given the role and I got that blank canvas, it was really a good opportunity for me to start to think about, okay, what do we need to focus on? And what I would say to you, if you are starting out the journey, the real importance of giving your people a voice. And that was what worked really well for me, including people in the process, not just going to people and saying, this is happening, we're doing this, we're doing that. We really got them on board and made them be part of that process. And that was a real key success for us. And what we will do in the group when we start to work with you is that we'll start to talk to you about what our experiences have been and how we sort of put things in place, what went well, what didn't go so well. And what I would say to you is I would really stress the importance of having that strategy in place. I've seen so many different organisations who just run at it. They'll put things in place, you know, thinking that's the right thing to do, but you really, really need to do your homework. And that's a lot of what we'll talk about. I think it can be quite overwhelming when you start on that journey, because you can see there is so much to do and so much to tackle around it. But it's about being really focused on those key areas, because you can't do everything all at the one time. And I think that's when you start to fall down, and that's when things start to go wrong for you. What I would really say to you is it's not a one-size-fits-all approach, and you'll hear that quite a lot talked about in the group as well. And it was something that I learned really, really quickly in a global organisation, because what worked in the UK didn't necessarily work out in the global markets. And even a business in the UK, again, just across that UK business, there's different demographics. So it's about having that tailored approach and thinking about, okay, I can do that in that business unit, but I need to take a bit of a different approach in this other unit. So it's really starting to think about your strategy having to be flexible and not trying to tackle everything all at once and just focusing on those key areas. What we want to do in our first meeting, and Sam's kind of touched on this a bit, but obviously we want to share our journey with you and how we started out and how we sort of carried on in that journey and what went really well for us around that and the different stages and areas that you really need to be focusing on. What we'll talk about is how you build that strategy, going through each stage for you. And what I would say to you is, in the group, it's not about us all the time. It's not about Sam and I. We will share with you, but I think it's quite important that whoever joins the group is that we are a group and we can all share our experiences with each other and ideas. And there's nothing better than being able to network and build your network with people. And I think that's what's been pretty successful for me as well, having a really good network out there that I can go to and share ideas or get different ideas from other people. So that's kind of what we want the group to look like. And for the first meeting, what we want to focus on is, where are you in your journey? So some of you may just be starting out in the journey. Some of you may have some initiatives in place. You may have started to build a strategy and you may just need a bit of guidance on that. But we'll spend a bit of time in that first meeting just finding out where everyone's at in their journey so that we make sure whatever content we bring, that it's relevant and that it will work for you. So I'm really excited and I'm really looking forward to working with everybody in the group.
So really, if we looked at a three-step approach, this is the basics. This is the foundation. If you are having a think about your wellbeing strategy, I think this is the group then to be thinking about, you know, if you want to come in and you still don't have your wellbeing strategy at you know, at the basic level, then this is where it is. But just echoing one of the things that Anne-Marie said, and I think this is something that we really thrive on when we talk about let's improve workplace wellbeing, is that coming together to learn and share from best practice. It's not any of us saying this is the way. However, there's a lot of stumbling that all these fantastic wellbeing leads have gone through that are able to then share their experiences.